Greetings, everyone. Today, we're going to be getting into inflammatory skin conditions and issues that are stemming in the body, what causes these things to appear on our flesh. So, thank you so much to my commenter who asked about rosacea. So, we're going to do my best to answer this question to the best of my ability. That's what we do at Guru Grit. It's a place for learning. So, my name is Monica. Welcome. People ask me things, I try to answer them to the best of my ability. So, we're learning together. The teacher and the taught create the teaching. So, you're teaching me and we just have this beautiful reciprocal channel of love. And yes, this is where we explore spiritual topics amongst other things. So we've got my Edgar Cayce books here and some natural therapy healing books and God knows what, lots of stuff. But we're going to be exploring traditional Chinese medicine as well and going into potential natural remedies for these things. So you can visit me on gurugrit.com, my Instagram, my TikTok. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're on YouTube probably. So leave me a comment or email me if you'd like to know something. I'm also doing things on, I'm an astrologer, but I also like to explore the possibilities of consciousness. I'm reading about, I rotate books, but like about 3 books right now on the Akashic Records and a couple on astral projection, which is very fun for occultists. I think that's just like where you start. So let's get into what Edgar Cayce says about rosacea. So interestingly enough, okay, um, he uses different language. This is from a different time. So generally, I can't find much of anything. I even checked the ARE website, unless I've done it many times before, but I couldn't find specifically rosacea, like that term. So there's obviously several case studies on people that have dryness or redness on the skin that's appearing on the face, here in the cheeks, and the neck. Okay, so it's distinguished from eczema, which I have, so I'm very familiar. It's distinguished from other things, okay? But, okay, so for rosacea, rosacea is actually very common. I did some research on this when I made the first video. It affects 14 million people in the USA and 5% of the world's population, some demographics more than others. So I thought that's really, really interesting, and I wonder why that is. So according to Edgar Cayce, this will lead to the diet. So I'm going to break it down. We'll do Edgar Cayce first, then we'll do traditional Chinese medicine, and then maybe something else like an emotional reason or a spiritual reason, because I'm looking at this Linda Howe book about the Akashic Records and I'm thinking, and I got my sister a birthday present this week. Yesterday she had a reading with a healer and an Akashic Records reader, so I was like, I guess all disease stems from some spiritual ether. But that's, anyway, that's what I believe, but we're all free to believe what we like. So according to Edgar Cayce, when it comes to the skin, any redness, inflammation, or even dryness, okay, usually it's linked, it will be from inflammation in the body. So it will be linked to the liver. The liver, you kind of think of it as like a twin. Anytime you consider the liver, you rope in and consider the kidneys, okay? So we're going to do those together. You can, of course, include the gallbladder and the pancreas or whatever, but we'll just say liver and kidneys. Very important. They filter, very important. Liver is your largest metabolic organ. It's very, very important. It's kind of like a miracle. It heals itself. It's pretty awesome. So he says that's the starting point. So what you're looking at right away is going to be food and digestion. You're looking at elimination. So he links a lot of things to elimination, which is basically his way of saying going to the bathroom. Okay. So most people don't go to the bathroom properly. And in the previous videos, I was explaining Montauk Chia's books, where he's explaining in traditional Chinese medicine, and like obviously he's a master, like Qigong, Tai Chi, all that stuff. He says that we think that you're constipated because you're stressed, but actually the other way around can also be true, that because you're not eliminating properly, it's causing you brain fog and you're filling your body with like microtoxins. That's why it's showing up on the skin, which is also we filter through our skin. Like, hey, that's why things pass through our skin. Okay, like obviously like sweat, but like we get acne, rashes, whatever needs to be filtered out. So we have several filtration organs. But anyways, so when it's eventually showing up on the body, it's showing up on the skin, then it's basically saying something is being overloaded inside of you. Okay. And interestingly enough, in astrology, you can see that in a birth chart. If there's a link to the sixth lord, or like I have Mars in the first house, which makes a person, he's my eighth lord, so it can make a person accident prone. I have a lot of scars. I had a burn accident. So, like, I don't like the term survivor, but like, okay, I experienced a third and fourth degree burns. Um, So Mars is inflammation, redness. It can impact. He rules the blood. So if you have a Mars Rahu conjunction, women are more sensitive to this than men, meaning that they don't cope as well. Okay, like biologically, it's much more of an irritant. Rahu, the north node of the moon, rules irritation and like chemicals. So obviously something in the blood. So people who have this, even like Rahu in the first house, maybe the second house of consumption. Okay, things such as like scented candles and like cheap perfumes or things with chemicals can irritate the person very easily. And I discussed the book quite a bit. The Woman Code by Dr. Elisa Vitti, and in the early parts of that book, she even explains how we live in the modern age. Everywhere you go, there's endocrine disruptors. So this hurts women more than men, okay? Because we're very sensitive. Like our bodies are much more sensitive. They're much more delicate, much more complex. So scented body wash, detergent, deodorants, hair products, skin product, anything like perfume basically disrupts your hormonal balance. So it can show up on the skin. So, according to Edgar Cayce, that's the first thing to look at is proper elimination. Are you having normal cycles of going to the washroom? Is your excretion, is it, I'm trying to use polite language. I'm trying to have a no swear summer, but I'm trying to be decent. Is it healthy? Is it the way it should be? You look into all those things, okay? All right. And then for diet. So, he mentions diet, but he consistently throughout his case studies in terms of health, including the skin and all this, a lot is linked to sugar intake. So he says you can have sugar, but the issue is in what, like the density, basically. Like, are you having a large portion of cake or are you having half that slice of cake in one sitting? It's like how much you consume in one sitting. All right. And I live in the West. Most people, like that live in the Western world, like we're very aware, or like we should be, how much sugar is actually in our food. A lot of our food is processed food, like even bread. Like there's this documentary, I think it's called The Sweet Spot. It's very eye-opening how much sugar is actually put into everything. And like a lot of people don't consider like there's that saying like don't drink your calories, but like a lot of things that we drink you don't think is like full of sugar, but it is. And even if something's like natural sugar, it still has added sugar. So it's just like very eye-opening, like how much you're taxing your body when you consume that much sugar, and sugar is inflammatory. Okay, so just going to read a little excerpt from this. And if you'd like to see all the books that I have on offer, like Edgar Cayce and Healing Remedies, go to etsy.com and look up Guru Grit Astrology, and I have tons of books on there. Also, for the month of August, this is, so if you're not watching this during August 2025, I'm very sorry, but for this month, so every August, I like to do something a little special. So if you buy one, you get another book for free. So like if you buy whatever, a book on relationships, one that's not on the listings, I'll find one in my library and like include a second book, as like I have to do a planetary remedy pretty much every summer, so that's why. Okay, diet. Sugar, possibly the most widely used suggestion from the Edgar Cayce readings in his basic diet, is to consist the intake of alkaline forming foods such as fruits, vegetables, both from above and below the ground, juices of all kinds, some dairy products, and approximately 8 glasses of water. 20% of the diet should consist of acid forming foods such as whole grain cereals, meats such as fowl, fish, or lamb, and dark breads. So I guess like pumpernickel and whole grain or whatever. Cheeses, potatoes with skin, and desserts of custard, cooked fruits, ice cream. It's like very, very much, appropriate for the times. Or cookies were to be eaten about 3 times a week. So not daily, very sparsely. I guess I should take that advice myself. Foods containing an excessive amount of sugar were to be avoided entirely. Okay, so basically like meringues, macarons, that's like pure sugar. Pavlova, which I love, is like pure sugar. Egg whites and sugar. All right, so he also stresses the intake. Okay, so fruits and vegetables, natural fibers, um, like pharmaceutical fiber, like laxatives and things like that, are said to disrupt the body. So, I mean, if you have to take something to go to the bathroom, be sure that it is as natural as possible, or you just don't become dependent on it. You want to keep your natural clock. You have like a rhythm of when you go to the washroom. Like when people travel, they struggle to go to the bathroom. So, you don't want to disrupt yourself through artificial means. Okay. Also, highly inflammatory foods, according to Edgar Cayce, as well as traditional Chinese medicine. Fried and greasy foods, which is very sad because I like anything fried. So, fried and greasy foods, spicy foods, and sweet foods, and foods that are too salty. So, we just have to moderate. We have to moderate as best as we can, okay? Now, speaking of the liver, Edgar Cayce obviously recommends a lot of castor oil packs. So here I've showed you this before, like a castor oil pack. You just put castor oil on there. You could put it on a rag and not directly on that thing. Or just, before they used to make these, I used to just cut up old t-shirts, put castor oil on the t-shirt, and then wrap myself with saran wrap and put like a t-shirt on top of that because it gets oily and it can like stain clothes, and then put a heating pad on. Okay, so castor oil packs help the liver a lot. And again, if you'd like to go to the bathroom and you struggle with that, you can actually drink castor oil. It's a very old remedy for constipation. I want to do a whole separate video on constipation, just how much it affects the human body, affects the mental health, causes brain fog, all these things. um, Dr. Andreas Morris discusses this a lot as well in his books, The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush, which I would do as like a last resort just because you can't do one. You have to do a whole year of them. So it's a very intensive and spiritually and draining process. In any case, castor oil can be also found in capsules at the health food store, and it's relatively cheap. Like, I mean, I live in Toronto, things are a little bit more pricey, but it's like under $20. Like, you can get a bottle of castor oil, you can drink, castor, as long as it's like food grade. If you're gonna drink it, I don't recommend this one's in a plastic bottle because I just put it on my skin and things, like you put it around your eyes. It's like great. But if you're gonna actually consume it, try to get one in a dark glass bottle, like a dark brown glass bottle that's organic. Okay. So that's for Edgar Cayce. Excuse me, I'm very tired today. Pardon me. But foods. Okay, so again, according to traditional Chinese medicine, same thing. Inflammation of the skin, redness and dryness that shows up on the skin is linked to sluggish liver and digestive function. I wouldn't personally become dependent on things like digestive aids, like enzymes. And if you're going to take them because like you have gallbladder pain or liver pain, like I'm going through liver issues at the moment, I would recommend getting one with ox bile. Okay, it should have ox bile in them. They work great, but don't take them like forever. Like try to change your lifestyle through diet and exercise, obviously. Also, this is for entertainment purposes only. This is not medical advice. I'm not trying to get in trouble with anyone. It's just fun. This is what I live. This is how I live. So this is normal for me. But liver. Okay, so foods that are good for the liver. And the liver, we'll discuss the meridians and such, but liver and kidneys. Okay, so burdock root, milk thistle. Of course, if you're taking something for the liver, you can take dandelion root for the kidneys. I mean, I've made dandelion leaf salad. You could just buy it. You can buy the capsules at the health food store and take those in tandem. Anything anti-inflammatory. So what else is good for the liver is omega-3, so like fish oil. If you are vegan or you don't like fish oil, like I personally don't like it, I take it because I feel like I have to sometimes, is flax oil. It's high in omega-3s and it's plant-based. Okay, I mentioned burdock root. Okay, this is the next part. Those are inflammatory things. So we're trying to think of anti-inflammatory things. So here comes the traditional Chinese medicine perspective, the spiritual perspective. Inflammation happens when there's too much fire in the body, or yang energy, unexpressed facilitative masculine energy. Okay, I'm a very yang woman, so I understand this very well. All right, like I said, I have eczema, I had acne, so like I understand. So another book that I looked into obviously is Healing Love Through the Tao, Cultivating Female Sexual Energy, where Master Montauk Chia and his wife explained how when a woman has an excess of yang, okay, basically energy is meant to travel upwards, okay? So what can happen is if it doesn't have a way to express itself in a healthy way, it can come up through the face. Okay, so he says it can even come out the eyes, it can come out the nose, or it can come out the mouth, quite literally, like, I don't know, inflamed gums, for example, or something very inflamed. But even through expressiveness, like I'm a very expressive person, I talk a lot, like that's a lot of yang. Okay, so you're supposed to just, like, it's okay to talk a lot, but you could tell I'm very like intense. And my friend, I told her I was reading this book last weekend. She took me to a spa for my birthday, and she went, you are fiery, but like in like a Texan way. Like you would be a hit down there. It was just really funny. So there's like a way you can balance it inside yourself, but keep your characteristics and keep your actual personality and like your energy signatures. So please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that like someone has to change as a person or whatever. I don't mean it like in an offensive, non-feminist way or whatever, but that's just the perspective. So we want to reduce the yang, and the way to reduce the yang is through food and habit and increase yin, which is going to balance that inflammation. So, what are yin increasing foods? Cooling foods. Okay, so you can look at, you're going to basically come to the same answer. You can look at like Ayurveda and like body types and, you know, I forget what they're called now. I'm exhausted this week. Pardon me. It's been crazy. But constitutions, okay, like your spiritual constitution for the body. You can also see that in a birth chart. Like I'm extremely fiery. So turmeric is the best thing. Okay, turmeric's number one. Just remember for absorption, you should take it with a pinch of black pepper. I mentioned burdock root. Okay, increasing yin, cucumber, celery. Those are cooling foods. You can have green tea. Coffee, coffee that has milk and sugar, which basically like dairy is an irritant and sugar is a stimulant, just like coffee. That would tip the scales. Okay, so even though like coffee is good for the liver, if you're adding fat and sugar into it, it will become excessive. Sort of like how alcohol is extremely yin, but it's not actually good for you. Like that's why like I have an aversion to men who drink habitually because I feel like it's very feminine. I can't. This is what's warped my worldview is these spiritual teachings. So you shouldn't drink alcohol. You shouldn't have tobacco. You shouldn't smoke, or even like vape because the chemicals are considered like stimulating. So dandelion, I mentioned milk thistle. Celery is cooling. Ginger. Okay, you can put tea tree oil. You can use on the face, but obviously like not essential oil. It will burn. You have to mix it with something. All right. Castor oil is also friendly. I used to make face masks with turmeric and garam flour, which is chickpea flour. Like I could just get it at my local grocer here, and mix it with whatever you want, like a few drops of lemon juice and maybe a little bit of yogurt or something like that, and like make a face mask. That's very cooling as well. Okay, reducing yang again is getting away from stimulating foods. Now, if you have low iron, unfortunately, like people tend to eat a lot of red meat, but all meats are considered yang, like pork, chicken. Most things are considered yang that are meat or animal based. So yin foods are certain grains like amaranth, buckwheat. Okay, you can find like certain grains that are yin grains, and you can have those. Obviously, like processed white flour isn't one of them, so that should be consumed in moderation. White starches are also very fiery, so that should be consumed in moderation. So just look up like cooling foods that you could increase the yin. Another, obviously, drinking a lot of water. Another thing you could do is obviously just try to relax. So Montauk Chia, in one of his books, he says, I think I've mentioned this before. When you wake up in the morning, before you open your eyes, like open your heart and put your left hand on your navel, covered it by the right, and then kind of like massage the navel when you wake up in the morning. Just try to like be gentle and not overstimulated throughout the day, which is very hard to do when you're living in 2025, but you must kind of try to focus the mind, journal, do Julian Cameron's morning pages or whatever keeps you calm. Light exercises. So some exercises are better for you than others depending on your constitution. So very yin things are like walking, light jogging, dancing, swimming, stretching. So yoga. Okay, those are very yin things to do. Um, Even like certain types of dance, like being loose is really important to the human body and your well-being. And I would add, especially for women, so things like Hawaiian, like traditional dance, like hula, um, um, world dance, like belly dancing. Okay, so things that are like more focused on mobility and like not flexibility, but just sort of like being loose, like having really loose hips, moving the arms, things like that. Okay, so nothing wrong with like what's that called? Crunking. I remember like watching So You Think You Can Dance, but in moderation, okay? If you're trying to reduce the inflammation of the body, it's just important to be a little bit more loose. So if you're a man, like stretching is really important. Or if you work out really hard, try to incorporate some restorative yoga or massages, okay? Massaging the feet, things like that. Very important. Okay, Another thing that's really yin is chlorella. So you can also get that at a health food store. I take it in the evenings. I take spirulina in the mornings. All right, so that's for foods. And again, just reducing spicy, greasy, fried things. Processed foods also very, very inflammatory. Usually not that good for us because they're usually pretty greasy and has a lot of sugar. Um, and then for the liver, I've showed you guys before breathing exercises and visualization exercises that help the liver. I talked about that. I talked about the liver. Now we're going to get into the spiritual component. So, what the liver and kidneys basically associate with. We mentioned that the kidneys associate with fear. So, when we have issues with elimination and filtering, we are stuck in some kind of emotion of fear. Okay, and that will link to the kidneys. So, my favorite exercise ever is when you wake up in the morning, is to just like kind of squat and gently twist your arms. And as they come around like this, you are tapping your kidneys really gently, and then I spin around like that and tap the other side. But you twist your whole upper body while your legs stay on the ground, knees are kind of bent, and I bend them and I tap, and I raise them and I tap. So I just go like that. Try doing it for a few minutes. It's very, very good for the kidneys. Okay, the liver, have quite have a lot of books on shame. The liver is associated to the emotion of shame. So that is why when we look at, if I could just find it, you see, it's so funny. Healing the Shame That Binds You. There it is. John Bradshaw. I have quite a few of them. I'm supposed to do a series on these on Patreon. But anyway, liver is associated to shame. So like a lot of the times people will have like eczema like me, acne like me, whatever, whatever, and the emotional or like the root cause will be some kind of like deep rooted memory about something. Okay, like maybe you tripped as a child and everyone laughed and it did something to you, but you don't know why or what. Okay, so try to love and approve of yourself. And Louise Hay in her book about healing, it was the first one ever, if I could remember. You Can Heal Your Life. That's what, You Can Heal Your Life. She has a lot of affirmations and how certain emotions are linked to certain disorders in the body. They're not 100% true for everyone because you can't generalize, but generally, again, anything that shows up on the skin, the person has some kind of emotional imbalance, like something they're embarrassed about. Like, do they feel bad about maybe not being where they want to be in life with in terms of education or financially? Do they feel embarrassed that they grew up poor? Do they feel embarrassed that their parents neglected them? Or, what is it? So that will show up on the skin. So if we, the reason I bring up Louise Hay is pretty much all of her affirmations started with "I'm willing to change," and she said she changed her life by saying "I love and approve of myself. I love and approve of myself." So if you say, "I got," it's here somewhere, "I got one of those prayer finger counters." It's right beside me. Okay. So if you did like 500 or 1,000 a day, they were like, "I love and accept myself. I am allowed to be myself. I approve of myself. I am whatever, accepted. I am validated. I am precious," or something. Then you can change your emotional constitution, and then that should kind of help itself quite a bit. So I hope that this has been helpful. And so basically, the answer for everything is it takes a while, it's natural. You take it day by day, you do the best you can. So, other yin things that you can do are pardon, baths. Okay, especially on a Monday or a Friday. So today's Friday, it's Venus Day. That's very like relaxing and luxurious. Venus actually rules swimming pools. That's fun in Gemini astrology. And the moon is like Moon Day. Okay, Monday. So that's water. Wearing lighter colors on Mondays, maybe white or neutral tones, pastels, things like that. Colorful things on Fridays with like planetary remedies. Um, Fridays, cardamom. So I have like cardamom green tea, bunch of things to do with cardamom. So those are like good planetary remedies you can try. And another yin thing. This is for women. So if you're a man, this try it for a couple months, see if it works. But generally, it's like a depends on the planetary remedies. But generally for women, so when I was studying tantra, to increase yin quickly is to, and again, I'm not like being anti-woman or anything, but to not wear pants. Okay, is to wear long flowing skirts, because the logic, this is why like in ancient times, and I suppose even in more recent times, like 1,000 years ago, if you take the whole timeline of the world, women would wear long things because as you walk, you sweep the energy of the earth and it can like travel up your legs to your reproductive organs. So you are harnessing the yin from the planet, which is feminine anyway. So because it's summer now, that might work. And then otherwise also because it's summer, sitting on the earth, like go have a picnic with friends, sit by a creek, sit outside on the grass. That's the fastest way to just like pull yin into your body. If you want to do like a visualization exercise, it probably more effective. So you can like visualize the energy traveling into you and up your spine, and you are cooling your body. You're cooling yourself. You're bringing more yin into yourself and you're balancing yourself. So you are soothing the excess heat inside of you. Okay. And I find that a lot of having a lot of yang energy, I do feel like it's a very externally focused consciousness. Like I'm always thinking about achievements or what to do next. I'm really busy. I never really considered like, I hate naps. Like I don't nap. If I get literally last week, I got 2.5 hours of sleep, I think on Wednesday. That was it. I just didn't sleep during the day. I didn't go to bed early either. Like, I don't know. It's not healthy. It's not good. I'm not encouraging that. But I understand the mentality when people are just made that way. Like, I'm also nocturnal, which doesn't help. So, what you should aim to do is to take your focus away from the outside world as much as you can. Like when you wake up, take an extra 5 minutes just to lie there and just like listen to your cells, feel the aliveness in your body. If you're driving to work or you take the bus, try not to have an additional stimulant like watching something. Try to just look out the window or close your eyes. Okay. So, a friend of mine was explaining that we struggle more to emotionally regulate and not be depressed today because of our devices. Okay. Because you're always staring at a screen, it's usually short distance. I was talking about this with the vision video. And in ancient times, we would just look outside. So that's why I like, is it EMDR? Anyway, it's very healing because your eyes are using more scope of vision, which in ancient times, if you went outside, why do I keep saying ancient? But okay, like 50 years ago, you could just kind of go outside and like look at the trees. But in ancient times, especially, we were starward. We used to watch the skies move. Okay, we had like, I think it probably made us more imaginative. But now you're just looking, okay? You're looking on your phone. I'm looking into my computer. When I read, I'm just looking into a book like right in front of me. And that's not very good for you. You should try to look farther into the distance and have fewer visual stimulants, which unfortunately, that's just how it is now. I'm on social media every day. A friend of mine on the phone yesterday, she said, I deleted Instagram and I just stopped going on TikTok like every single day. And she said, I'm so much happier. I mean, in like 2 weeks, I like regulated myself and was able to become a lot happier. So maybe that would also definitely help with the yang kind of thing. And I see that in myself as well. When I take more time just to be internally focused, I have a much better day. Yeah, so I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense because I know yeah, with spiritual remedies, they sound very vague until you do them, until you actually put them into practice and they become a part of your life. It just sounds like a bunch of fluff. But when you actually eat different, think different, orient your day differently, you really see results. You definitely see results in like weeks or maybe a few months, but depending on what it is. So hope this has been helpful for you. So just, and in the previous videos, I also discussed Edgar Cayce stretches and things like that for elimination. He says in the morning, we should wake up and stretch our arms straight above our heads and kind of like strain and then bend forward and try to touch your toes. Like you're trying to like lift your organs and then kind of like release the pressures off the intestines so you can go to the bathroom properly. Okay. And a natural, very popular cheap fiber supplement is psyllium husk. Okay, so you can find psyllium husk in most places, even like grocery stores, I think. So yeah, I hope that this has been useful. Let me know how it goes, and let me know if you have any other questions. So remember, you'll get a free mystery book gifted to you if you get one off my Etsy this month. So you have 16. It's the 15th. It runs until the 31st. You get an astrology reading. On gurugrit.com. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye.